With the autumn feasts of Halloween and Bonfire Night behind us, I've set my sights on the finest of winter foods. As I root out a truly scrumptious vegetable. There's a hint of oyster almost, even truffle. Rabbit on about a wild meat that's going to waste when it could be going to your kitchen.
I think we can safely say that these chaps are not going to be eating any more lettuces.
And when it comes to seasonal seafood, well, I'm on fire.
Wow. Is it considered indecent to do it again the next day? Winter's definitely on the way, so why not make it the warmest, tastiest season of the year?
Such a lot of flavour.
Free wine!
Moist and juicy.
Oh, it's trickling down! I've had so much fun for years.
There's something sweetly melancholic about winter's approach, as the spectacular display of autumn gradually gives way to the more earthy delights of the winter soil. The hard-earned treats of the winter veg garden are a particular pleasure. But there are thieves about. Something's been nibbling my greens. The evidence is everywhere. It can't be birds, they're after the berries. The hens and ducks, they're looking for grubs and bugs. I reckon it's rabbits. Insatiable rabbits.
So where are they then? Why can't I see them? Sure, it's rabbits. If it was deer, there'd be nothing left. If it was slugs, there'd be raggedy edges and the veg would be full of holes. See, neat little... I don't understand how they're getting in. It's supposed to be rabbit-proof, this garden.
Buck-toothed little buggers.
It's quite baffling, because I was sure I got this place rabbit-proof, and I've never actually seen a bunny in here. I need incontrovertible evidence that it's them, and if I find it, they're in trouble.
It's taking over my life. I'm actually losing sleep.
I know you're there.
I'm determined to catch them red-pawed. And nothing gets past my pumpkin can. The pumpkin never lies. The proof is conclusive. Rabbits getting into my garden via the chicken run. And further up the hill, the full extent of the bunny problem is all too plain to see.
Look at this! That's a rabbit run. You know what? It goes straight down to the veg garden. The rabbit population here is definitely starting to become a big problem. But there is another way of looking at it. It's also a considerable resource.
I want to turn this furry foe into food. And after a happy summer of breeding, well, like rabbits, the population is now at its peak. It's like having hundreds of hungry teenagers raiding your fridge all the time. Only these ones actually eat their greens. In our grandparents' day, farmers and gamekeepers managed rabbit numbers, and rabbit meat was regular fare on the family table. In fact, you only have to go back a few generations to find a time when more rabbit was eaten than chicken. Ted and Derek are local gamekeepers with a direct line to a more rabbity past.
My granddad used to catch them, ferret them for sort of Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and send them on the train to London on a Monday.
How many at a time?
Well, quite a lot in those days. If you take 400 rabbits off of a farm, the chances are you'll take between 300 and 500 every year.
Really?
And it doesn't really go up and down very much.
On that basis, rather than obliterate our warren, we should manage it as a regular source of meat.
So this gorse, really, is the perfect hideaway for them.
It's warm, it's good cover.
Rabbit paradise, isn't it? The buzzards can't get at them.
This may be rabbit paradise for when they like to spend the night, but I can tell you, the paradise where they like to eat is my vegetable patch. As night falls, we head back up the hill to patrol around the edges of the gorse bushes. Derek likes to bag his bunnies by lamping. The rabbits get startled by a bright light and freeze long enough for him to take aim.
That's not a rabbit.
It's a busy place by night, but the rabbits are not dining at home.
Well, I reckon they're all in the fleming veg patch while we're chasing around here.
Ted's instinct is right, and when we get back down the hill, there they are, making for my winter greens.
Ring, Ted.
Run, rabbit, run. Don't let the farmer get you with his gun.
The best way to shoot rabbits for the pot is to use a 2.2 rifle, for which you'll need a firearms license, or a powerful air gun.
Shot.
Rabbits are classed as vermin, so there are no seasonal restrictions, but stick to autumn and winter when they're not feeding their young. And always get the landowner's permission.
In the pumpkin patch, right in the pumpkin patch, at the back of the pumpkin.
Stay still.
You see him? That is the end of your pumpkins.
One more for the stew.
So we're going to porch these now.
With a good little sharp knife through the legs. Leg them. Nice little slit up there. Shake it forward. Catch hold of the paunch. And away it goes. You got a nice, clean rabbit.
That's quick work. It may be game over for them, but it's game on the table for me, as I take home a good pile of rabbits ready for the pot. Coming up, I'm on needles and pines as I flex my muscles and prepare an éclat de moule. And I join forces with the good ladies of the WI to turn the farmer's foe into food and fashion items.
That's a very impressive massage technique. Are you a professional?
It'll all come together on our rampant rabbit night, crammed with competitions, cooking, crafts,
Little muff.
and quality clothing. Back in April, I was busy preparing a corner of my kitchen garden for a VIV, very important vegetable.
Is that straight? It's nearly straight. Very important in gardening not to get too obsessed with straight lines. These are some of my favourite seeds. They're like miniature dried out bananas. And in fact, the vegetable that they turn into is a long, thick and very delicious root called salsify. 7 months later, my quirky little seeds should have blossomed into fat, nutritious roots. And now that winter's on the way, I can't wait to get stuck in. It's an absolute corker here. It's really rather special, this root. It was a great favourite of the Victorian kitchen because of its exquisite flavour. But for some reason it's slightly fallen out of favour. I can't think why. It's incredibly easy to grow. It'll stay in the ground right through till Christmas and beyond, and its unique rooty flavour is unlike anything you'll have ever tasted before. And it's double the fun, because I've also planted one of salsify's delightful cousins. This is a broader-leafed relative of salsify called scorzonera, and it's just as delicious. These much overlooked veg rarely appear on supermarket shelves, but they will pop up at farmers' markets, local grocers and in veg box schemes. You can see it's really very similar, but a slightly darker root and a subtly different flavour, with perhaps a hint of extra sweetness. The thing about salsify and scorzonera is, once peeled, both these roots have a tendency to turn brown as they oxidise in the air. But a big bowl of cold water with a squeeze of lemon in it solves the problem. It turns out these pale roots have quite a colourful history.
They were used to treat the bubonic plague, and the milky sap that oozes from the root when you break it was considered a cure for snake bite. I reckon the dish I'm about to do with them should be the perfect cure for a rumbling tummy in the winter months.
They've got a subtle flavour, so I'm going to simmer the rooty batons in a light stock, with just a splash of white wine and a smidge of seasoning. What's going to top them off nicely is a crispy, cheesy gratin.
A little bit of West Country cheddar.
I'm also using a cheese called Danegelt.
It's made here in Devon, but in the Scandinavian style, and it's got a lovely nutty tang to it. It's a really nice grating and melting cheese.
The cheese is added to a handful of breadcrumbs.
I think that's enough cheese. I don't want a really gooey, melty, cheesy topping, just a sort of seasoning in the gratin. I want these guys to be tender, but with still just a little bit of bite. What a wonderful flavour that is.
It's got a sort of oysteriness about it. The poached salsify sticks drain on a clean cloth, while I reduce the cooking liquor to make the gratin sauce, adding a little cream to enrich it.
The cream's not going to thicken it enough on its own, so I'm just going to perform a little chef's trick.
No time for a roux, but here's a ruse. Take a little flour and mix with some soft butter, and you have what chefs call a beurre manier.
Now, of course, it's the flour that's going to thicken the sauce, but by mashing it with a little butter and whisking it in, we avoid the dreaded lumpiness.